Okay, so now let's do something more challenging with Playmaker. If you've noticed the setup here that I've put our UI info panel above our cube here, and I still have my trigger. So I've just kind of made an empty game object so they're all together, but this is basic setup here. So what I want to do is hide this info panel, right? Not let it be there until someone comes into the trigger. So this is, and then when they leave the trigger, it'll go away, right? So this is a way to pop up information of something in your world. So we've been building everything on the changing cube, and we will need to build a lot of it. But first we need to go to the canvas. And if you remember, we had a panel and text and maybe had video and who knows, but we'll want to work on the top level canvas object. And so the first thing we want to do is add a finite state machine. And I'm going to call this startup. Okay, so at startup, what I need to do is hide this object. So I'm going to go into my action browser, and the one to hide an object is activate game object. So I'll double click on that. It comes in here. I simply uncheck activate, right? And that means it's disabled. And I want to keep recursive checked on because it'll turn off then all the child elements inside here, right? We don't want to see anything. One curious thing that we have to do here is, because this is deactivating a thing, these finite state machines have this reset on disable. You'll technically be disabling. So this is probably, I don't know if this is the only time you use this, but we want to make sure we uncheck reset on disable. Go back to our states here, and we want to add a transition. And so we want to say, well, when it's finished, when you've turned off this object, because if you leave this, it'll just keep running every frame. We want to add a state, and we'll just call this hidden. And I'll just simply drag that. So now it'll just be stuck in this hidden. It's not doing anything rather than keep firing to turn off. We definitely don't want that, right? So we'll be in a hidden state. That's our first setup. So now we can go back to our trigger. And it's as simple as when we enter, right, we want to turn on our canvas. So we go to the action browser, add another activate game object. We want to specify the game object. We want it to be our canvas. We drag it in here. We activate it recursively. On exit, right, we want the same thing, except for we want to deactivate it. So activate object, specify game object, put the canvas there, deactivate it by unchecking that. And so let's try that out right here. Wah, wah, wah. There we go. Okay, so now I'll go walking. I should have probably put it a little closer here, but we go in. There it is, some wonderful info when we go. There's a problem though. What happens if I come at it from the side? Oh no, I can't really read it. We can go a step higher. And what we want to do then is actually make it so that our info looks at the person when they enter. So we're going to add another Playmaker thing. So I'm going to click on enter right here so that I'm adding another action. And I'm going to go to the action browser, and there's one called look at, right? Just what it sounds like. So when I add look at, whoops, I added too many. Let me remove that. Right, I have this look at right here. Well, first of all, we want to specify the game object. We want it to be the canvas. We want to keep it vertical because we only want it to rotate it, along its vertical around its y-axis. I'm going to disable turn off frame, and oops, I put this canvas in the wrong thing. Sorry. I want the game object to be the canvas, and this canvas, the target object, should actually be our first-person controller. Whoops. So I'm going to grab my first-person controller and put it as the target object, right? So the game object that we're working on is the canvas. The target object that we want to look at is the first-person controller. So now when I go in and I go to my object and say, let me come at it from the side here. Come at it from the side. Right there it is. It's looking right at me. No matter which angle I wind up coming in from, it'll go ahead and turn to me so that I can read that information. So obviously you see how you can leverage this in your VR scene to bring up more information about an object.